I'm Jenny Blackwood, a small-town mom of 4 who refused to settle for a life that didn't light me up. When everything felt uncertain, I didn't run back to a 9-to-5. I bet on myself. I took a simple idea and turned it into an almost 7-figure business my first year, all while being a mom first. Now I'm here to help you trust your own power, chase the dream that keeps tapping your shoulder, and build a life that feels like you. This is Girl, Why Not You? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Girl, Why Not You? I, of course, am your host, Jenny Blackwood, and today's episode is about a moment that I think so many different women experience, but not enough women are acting on it. The moment where everything on paper looks right, the title, the career, the success, but something inside of you knows, this isn't it. This isn't me. And if I stay here, I'm going to lose myself. Can you guys relate to that? And here's the hardest part. Walking away when you don't have the next step figured out. Today's guest didn't just face that moment. She made the decision most people are too scared to make. Stacey Ryan was a senior leader in education, rising quickly, doing all the right things. But behind the scenes, she was navigating environments that didn't align with who she actually was. And when she was told she'd be more successful if she wore lipstick, she had a realization that changed everything. She was becoming a leader she didn't even respect. And instead of adjusting herself to fit the mold, she walked away. Snaps to Stacey. No plan, no safety net, just self-trust. And that decision led her to where she is now. President of School of Rock, leading a global organization that's helping thousands of young people build confidence, connection, and identity through music. And founder of Front Women, where she's empowering women to lead unapologetically. Stacey, it would be a massive understatement to tell you that I'm so excited for this conversation. I cannot wait to dive in. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me and for that beautiful introduction. Thank you.
You deserve it. You deserve every word. And if anybody's watching this on YouTube, I have a ear-to-ear smile because this woman is so badass and you are all going to have like these aha moments during this conversation. I can't even wait. So let's just get to it, shall we?
Dig in.
Let's dive in. So, okay, we need to go back, girl. We need to go back to that moment because I think that's where so many women are sitting right now. You got real brave, and you walked away from a leadership role without a freaking plan, which I think all of us can say would have us shaking in our boots to do that. And that's also what keeps a lot of people stuck. So what was happening for you at that time? Somebody told you, let's go back to that terrible leader. What was happening in your life?
Oh, well, I mean, it was a point where I was newer in this role of leading an individual center. So, my numbers just weren't great.
Yeah.
And I was told that my numbers would improve if I pulled back my hair and put lipstick on. And
vomit to that.
I know. And I'm not a lipstick person. I'm more of a lip gloss girl. So, I did start pulling my hair back. I never put lipstick on. And, I just, okay, maybe there is something to it. I was younger. Maybe they would see me as more mature if I pulled my hair back and tried that approach. And it wasn't that did it, but eventually I continued to climb in that organization. And this woman continued to be my direct supervisor. And at the point where I was overseeing multiple locations in the area, there was a situation that I'll never forget. I had a center director and she needed time off for a personal matter. And I reacted in the way that I knew I was expected to. And not in the way that I felt good about.
Right.
And when I went home that night, I didn't like who I was seeing in the mirror. And it was still early in my career, and I was realizing I wasn't liking the person and the manager that I was becoming, but I was doing exactly the things that I was expected to do at the same time. Yeah. So it was that instance, and I took that weekend to really think it through. And on Monday, I walked in and I resigned. And
good for you.
Pretty substantial notice. And, when I was asked why, I said, because of you.
Yeah.
Because of you. And, they tried to find ways for me to stay. And I really just said, I need a break. I need a break. I need to reflect. I need to heal. and I need to see what I want to do. Maybe I'll be back and maybe I won't. And I never went back.
Wow. What a pivotal point in your life. And I love that you were like, this is not me. You weren't going to force yourself to be a version of yourself that you couldn't sleep with at night, right? You were like, it was probably eating you alive to know that you were trying to conform, but you're conforming. I've known you for all of, let's see, 21 minutes now. And I can tell that that is not you. You are a really good soul. You're a good person. And so I applaud you for not looking paycheck first. I think that's what a lot of people do is they go, well, I have to keep this job, right? I have to pay my bills. Like, I don't know what my next step would be. So I'm just going to figure this out. But it's not worth compromising your integrity.
Right. And that's my biggest thing with all decisions, even still today. We always say we have to put our head on our pillow at night.
Yeah.
And I want to feel good when I do that. I don't want to feel like I made a bad decision or I did something in a negative way that, impacted somebody else. I want to be able to, with integrity, feel like, okay, that was the right thing. And maybe not the popular one. The right thing isn't always the popular thing. Those don't always, coincide with each other, but at least knowing that it's the thing that I feel is the best approach and the right approach, and I can sleep at night.
Yeah, guys, we only have one life, right? And we have to be our best self in a lot of different ways. But like feeling good about who we are is obviously a top priority because that affects everything. It affects us mentally, it affects our mood. I am certain at that point, like your mental health was being compromised because you were like, oh, these people, the things that they're saying to me, the things I'm expected to say to other people. It just wasn't for you. You were very out of alignment, which I talk about a lot in different ways. And so this is a real aha for you. And good for you for being like, you're the problem, right? You didn't let that be on your shoulders. You were like, I'm actually too good for this. So
That felt
adios.
good. I'm
Yes.
not gonna lie, that part felt really good.
And I am so freaking proud of you for that. So what do you feel like gave you the courage to walk away? You didn't have a next step. So was it just like, I'm going to figure this out? Or where were you at that point?
I think I was just at the point where I knew I couldn't continue doing what I was
Yeah.
doing. And
Right.
there was no other approach. I had tried to influence change and it didn't happen. I had tried to do the thing that I felt was right and then I would get reprimanded for it. And I knew that the only way there to keep the peace in a way was to do the things I was expected to do in the way that I was expected to do them. But then
Yes.
to what we were just saying, putting my head on my pillow at night, I really struggled and I
Yeah.
didn't like who that person was. So it just reached a point where I really didn't feel like I had any other choice.
Yeah.
And, I was in a position where I was lucky enough to be able financially to make that decision and to take a step back and take some time. And I kind of at that point felt like I know the skills that I bring and I know that this isn't the way it's supposed to feel.
Right.
And I'll figure it out. So I actually decided to take time off and I took a few months off. I gave myself 2 months to just breathe without even thinking about finding another job.
Yeah.
In those 2 months, I started a dog treat company.
Okay. A little pivot there.
Apparently, I'm not very good at doing nothing. But I had 2 small dogs, so I started a organic dog treat company called Stacey's
that.
Organic Snacks. I still have the business cards and the
Cute.
baseball cap, and it's a great logo.
Yeah.
And, I started doing like farmers markets and little town fairs. And I was selling enough where it was reaching the point that my little KitchenAid kitchen mixer and my small oven wasn't keeping up.
Right.
So I was starting to explore renting out like a pizzeria on a day that they
Okay.
were closed to cook in larger batches. And then I realized that I need to get back to work.
It was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but you're like,
Yeah.
you know what? This is, it became a fun hobby. But I think
Right.
what you're saying is so powerful. Number one, you threw yourself in the deep end. You were like, all right, I'm going to figure it out. You had some reserves, which is nice, but you starting the dog treat company. Obviously, you probably knew at that point that wasn't your end all, right? So what you realized with the dog treat company, you were looking for something that was kind of like a transition period. You were looking like, let me keep my brain busy. Let me do something that I actually enjoy. You probably mentally needed a debrief from what you had been subjected to. You had some trauma to work through from that terrible woman. So I get it. But here you go. You're like, all right, I need to now figure out what my next steps are. Would you say it's like for big decisions that people make? Do you think a lot of our best decisions, the one that give us the most growth, do you think that that is like a jump in the deep end type of situation a lot of times?
I do. And I actually talk often about the fact, at least in my life, when I reflect back, some of my lowest of low moments, had they not happened, it wouldn't have opened up the opportunity for some of my highest of highs. And,
Yes.
it really, when I reflect back, I really am a big believer that everything happens for a reason. And, those moments that are the hardest are opening up space for something really great to
Mm,
happen. And I
yes.
try, and even when I'm in those moments, which is hard, I try and remember that, okay, this is happening for some reason or another, and I'm not going to know right now. And I may not know for even, in months or years, but eventually I'm going to look back and say, okay, had that not happened, this wouldn't have been able to. And I have so many examples of that in my life. So I really try and, talk with our younger managers and help them understand that, because not everything goes exactly the way you want it to all the time.
Sure.
And, when those low moments happen, what's the lesson that you can learn from it? And what's the other opportunities that it's opening up for you? And focus
Yes.
on that. And I do think the most amount of growth happens in those toughest of times.
Could not agree with you more. We have to fail, people. So many people are so afraid to fail, but actually, failing is a good thing. It may not be comfortable in the moment, but my gosh, the things that you learn, the places that you go, right, from those failures. You can't get substantial growth without learning what doesn't work.
Right.
Nobody's coming out of the gates like with the perfect sauce right away, right? There's a lot of trial, there's a lot of tribulation. And I think the quicker that you guys realize that, the more accepting you'll be of a journey not looking maybe the way that you had expected in the beginning. It's gonna look different. It just is, but that's okay. Look at Stacey, for example. Okay, so like good segue here. You talk a lot about uncertainty being a catalyst for growth. So what do you think that looks like in real life?
Think it looks like having blind faith in yourself.
Yeah.
I lost a very dear friend of mine
Oh,
quickly. He was, diagnosed with cancer and gone within 6 weeks. And
oh I'm so
it
sorry.
was, thank you, but it was during a tough time in my life. I was navigating a bad divorce, and, he was really a big sounding board and a support for me through all of that. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget, I went to visit him in the hospital, flew across the country to be there in his final moments. And he kicked everyone out of the room and grabbed my hand and said, "Promise me to know your worth. The only
Mm,
thing I want is for you to know your worth." And
my
those
gosh.
words have really stuck with me, because I think we forget that too often. We
Yes.
forget our own value and our own worth. And we forget, especially as women, we forget when we're at these tables surrounded by other men, that, hey, we're
Mm,
in the room because we belong in the room. And I often will have to look around and remind myself, like, I'm here because I belong here and I have something of value to add. And
yes.
it's hard sometimes to remember that, but I think when you push yourself a little bit outside of that comfort zone,
Yeah.
when you start to learn more. And I live by, and I always preach that if you're doing something and it feels uncomfortable, savor that discomfort, because it
Yes.
means you're growing. It means you're learning. When you do things that are just comfortable and easy, it's because you already know that stuff. Add your toolbox, learn something more. So break out of that comfort zone, because that's how you grow as a leader, as a human, just as a person in general. Those experiences that kind of feel awkward, eventually they're not going to feel so awkward, and it
Right.
opens up the opportunities for other stuff. So I'm a big component for pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone, taking on challenges that you don't know if you can do. I mean, when I took this role, I'm like, can I lead an organization? I don't know if I
Yeah.
can do that. But other people around me knew I could. They
Yes.
believed in me more than I believed in myself. And,
Gosh.
I went into it fully committed, and for me, there was enough of the stuff that I knew that I felt comfortable, and there was enough of the new that felt like invigorating and challenging. And okay, I'm
Yes,
learning new stuff now, and that's exciting.
that
Um,
is exciting.
it's harder, it takes more time. You have to move slower through it. You have to do more research and learn, but you're growing. And that's the cool
Yes.
thing.
That is so beautifully stated.
Thank you.
Know your freaking worth, people. Know your worth and never let anybody else convince you otherwise, right? I think we are our own worst enemy. We're the first to devalue ourselves in most situations. And you're right. The fact that other people saw it in you helped bring it out in you in a time where you were like, oh, you felt very uncomfortable, like you said. You know what I just cited, Stacey? Me and you, we're going to get t-shirts. We're going to put our faces on it and it's going to say, get uncomfortable. And we're going to make people wear it, right? Because you're right. Being uncomfortable is actually something for somebody who is at your caliber at this point, someone for me who's a growing entrepreneur. I have gotten to the point where when I feel comfortable, actually that makes me uncomfortable. I want to feel the discomfort of what's coming next. Oh my gosh, I have opportunity here. Because with discomfort comes potential for massive growth in
Right.
so many different ways. And so I don't like feeling comfortable anymore, which probably sounds insane.
I love it. No, I love it. I mean, they say if you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to find another room.
Yes, you're so right. You are so right. And I everything she said is so powerful. So please, anybody listening to this, really hone in on that. Really hone in on everything she just said. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what a badass Stacey is. I don't think you guys understand what this woman has done in her life. It gives me the chills to think about it. So we're going to head into School of Rock now. All right. So here you are. Now you're leading something at a completely different scale. All right. You become the president of School of Rock. But how did that come to be? All right. Bring us into this moment in your life.
Yeah. So I left that organization, started the dog treat company, needed a job. I reached out to the former CEO who had moved on to another organization, asked her to be a reference, and her response was, "No need. We want you here."
Of
So I
course
went
they
and
did.
joined that organization. It was great. And they created a position for me, and it was good. It wasn't great. I
Okay.
liked it, but it still wasn't something that excited me when I woke up in
Yeah.
the morning. And I learned enough about that organization that I decided that maybe corporate America isn't for me. And
Mm.
maybe it's just not the type of culture that I'm interested in. So I'm going to create my own culture. So I signed a franchise agreement with that organization, and I couldn't be a franchisee and a corporate employee at the same time. So I transferred my department. That same woman had since moved on, and she was CEO at School of Rock.
Okay.
And at that point, I had some time to kill before, the lease was signed and the building was built and all of that. So I decided I was going to consult. I had great relationships with franchisees from both organizations. So I reached out to her again and I said, "Hey, I'm going to start consulting. I have some time to kill. So if you know anybody there who could use my help, please just keep me in mind." And her response was, "No need. Start tomorrow and only work here."
Boom.
So I came to School of Rock as a consultant with no intention of staying. I quickly fell in love with what we were doing and started experiencing a different culture. And then I simultaneously realized that I was in an abusive marriage.
Ugh,
And yeah, talk about like knowing your worth. That's why my friends just really pushed me on that because I just
yeah.
came out of that really beat down.
Mm,
And I decided to file for divorce and
good
cancel
for
that
you,
franchise
girl.
agreement because it was with him. And I didn't see a path forward with that. And I fully committed to School of Rock. And very quickly, I just saw the impact that School of Rock had. I'm not a musician, I'm a music lover,
Yeah.
but I've always been in education my whole life. It's what I went to school for. So when I joined School of Rock full time, I remember I had to convince myself that I was still enriching youth's lives.
Yes.
It's still education. It's music education, but it's still education. Those are the things that were going through my head.
Yeah.
And then I went on my first All Stars tour with our kids. our all-stars are like the best of the best from all over the world. So think like American Idol, multiple layers. We actually have final decision weekend this weekend happening
Ooh,
in Chicago.
exciting.
And we take 80,000 students worldwide and we narrow it down to just under 200. And those
Whoa.
200 kids from all over the world, they fly in to 6 different sites. We have 6 different tours. They meet their, 20 other bandmates from all over the world. They have 2 days to rehearse together as a band. And then they get on a bus and they play in a different city at a different venue every night
My
for 2
gosh.
nights. And
This
it's
is
just a
so fun.
life-changing experience. It's so cool.
Oh,
And my very first All-Stars tour, we were passing through Philadelphia. We always like to do something culturally for the kids. During the day, we stopped at the Rocky Steps. The doors
fun.
opened. The kids like barreled out of the bus and started sprinting up the steps. And all the adults are just standing back and like, we'll wait for you down here. Go have fun.
Oh,
And I turned and I saw a mom crying. And I walked over to her and I said, "Are you okay? Did something happen?" And she shared with me that her son, who was on that tour, was on the spectrum
okay.
and was autistic. And she said, "I never thought that he would have friends.
Oh
I was
gosh.
watching him run up these stairs with these 20 new friends from around the world. And I'm just so grateful for everything that School of Rock has given him." Now, this was
My
11
goodness.
years ago, and I still get goosebumps when I tell
Oh,
this story. And it was kinda in that moment, I was like, there's something really special happening here,
yes.
and I wanna be a part of this. And I fully committed to School of Rock, and I haven't regretted it
Wow.
for a moment, and 11 years
Wow.
later, I'm running the whole organization.
That's incredible, Stacey. Oh my gosh. So at the time when you joined the School of Rock team, how many franchises at that point existed?
It was when I joined, it was just under 100 because
Okay.
I remember when we hit the 100 school mark, and I remember when we hit 10,000 students worldwide. Like, I
Yes.
remember those milestones. And then today, we just opened our 445th location,
Holy
and
smokes.
last month, for the first time, we exceeded 80,000 students globally.
Oh my goodness. So at that time, they were already doing good, but you had no idea what was coming, right? What do you think people misunderstand today about like your role with them and what you've actually built within this franchise?
Well, I think the most important thing is it's not a one-person job. It is the whole team. I can't do what I do without the incredible people who I work with, and I'm so lucky to work with some of my most favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
And, it was a building point. When I joined School of Rock, there wasn't a great relationship between the franchisor and the franchisees. There was a
Yeah.
disconnect. There was a lack of trust. There was a lack of camaraderie. And
Mm,
it took us years to build on that. And we had to do a lot of self-reflection as a team and see, hey, where are we messing up? How can we be better? I still do that today, every day.
yeah.
How can I show up better? How can I be a better partner to our franchisees, to our team members, to our instructors?
Yeah.
So always questioning like how we can be better. And I think that's the most important thing. Like just because you're on the franchisor side or, the leadership team side, it does not mean any of us are always right or that we
Sure.
always have the answer. And leaving the space for someone to know better than yourself and leaving the space for curiosity and one of our mantras, maybe they're right. I had a
Yeah.
situation today where there was a disconnect between two team members and I got forwarded the whole thing and I looked at it
Mm.
and the response was maybe they're right. And,
Yeah.
maybe they are, maybe they're not, but maybe they are. And that'll just help take that step back, kind of diffuse it a little bit and
Sure.
help you consider the other side of it and see it from a different perspective. I think it's something that has been absolutely incredible to be a part of.
Yeah.
It's like one of my most favorite things in my life is School of Rock
Yes.
and
Oh.
the people and what we do and how we do it and the fact that we are just saving lives through music. Like we do it in the
Yeah.
coolest way possible, but the impact that we have is immense.
is so great. Thinking about that mom and that moment, my mom heart is like breaking for her because that's the hardest thing. When you have kids, it's like you want them to be loved, liked, treated well, whatever. And the fact that like what you guys do gave her son a place, where he fit in, where he was happy, where he had friends and doing something that he loves. There's no greater gift to a mother, right? So, I mean, I love that. I love, though, something like I was thinking about as you were talking. You went from being a leader from what you were doing in the past that you were just not in alignment with. You said no to that. Thank God, right? You moved on. You didn't keep yourself somewhere where you were miserable and it was not serving you in your life. But I think like everything that you're saying right now really ties into like directly how you lead, how you are a leader. So my question for you is, what does authentic leadership actually look like today? Like, especially for women,
Yeah.
you know?
It's hard. It's hard as women.
Yeah, it's
You
freaking
know,
hard.
and I am not the leader today that I was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, even, a few months ago.
Yeah,
I'm constantly learning and adjusting and, like I said, pushing myself to be better.
yeah,
For me, authentic leadership is about those things that I was saying, being true to yourself, leaving space for others to be better than you,
yeah.
making sure your team feels valued, leading with integrity, and,
Yes,
making decisions that aren't always easy, but that in your heart are the right decisions.
the right
We have our
ones.
mission statement, we have our values that we operate on. Those are our guiding lights. And for me, it always comes down to what's best for the child.
Yeah,
That's always the answer. And
yeah,
in the hard moments, that kind of makes it a little bit more clear. But I think to be an authentic leader, you have to be your authentic self
yeah.
and really find yourself and who are you as a
True.
person and what is important to you and what do you want people to describe you as,
Right,
and when someone says your name and says, what are 3 adjectives you would use to describe them? What are the things that you want them to say? And then are you actually living that
right.
and leading with that? And if you aren't, then you either need to choose 3 different adjectives
Yeah,
or make some adjustments
sure.
and do it that way. And, a very, very easy thing for me, I knew where I came from, that toxic environment. Asking for a day off was like you were asking for $100,000 advance in your
Which
salary.
is so crazy. Isn't it
It's crazy.
crazy?
It's
And then you
crazy.
have to feel guilty about wanting to like actually live your life.
Right. And for
Yeah,
me, like, that's where I made the decision when I walked away that health and family will always, always, always come first. Because even
yes.
being sick, it was like, are you really sick? Well, I'm going to need a doctor's note and not trust
Mm,
it. And I have never since then questioned a thing. And I stress to my team, like, health and family first, always. The work will be here when you get back, or there are other people that we can help and pick up your slack.
yeah.
But I had a new woman who transferred to my team, and she's very thorough. And every time she would put in her request for time off, she would give me like a paragraph of, my mom is coming into town and we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And, after a few times, I finally said to her, I love hearing what your plans are for the day. I really adore you and I'm interested in your life. However, I don't need that. Like, you've earned your time off. That's your time. So
For sure.
request it and I'm going to give it. And I regularly look at even the dates of time off requests because
Yes.
I trust my team to make the right decisions. And yeah, you need the time off, go ahead, go and take it. So that was something that I decided was very important to me early on. Like, I want people to feel the space to have that balance, to live their lives and to prioritize their health and their
Yeah.
family. Because I experienced the other side of it and I never wanted to be on the distribution side of that feeling. And
Yes.
that's where I think authentic leadership comes from. Like, what are the lessons you've learned? Who's the person that you want to be? And then being that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You took lemons and you made a lemon drop, right? You took your experiences that really were pretty traumatic for you in the work sense, and you are now applying that into yourself as a leader, which, again, nobody wants bad things to happen to them or to go through situations that are unideal. But like, look at Stacey, you guys. Look at what she went through, being told, oh, you might do better if you put on lipstick and put your hair back in a bow. I mean, come on. So it's like the fact that you chose to rise up from that and you let the bad leadership shape you as a much better leader. Who knows? You could be a subpar leader right now if you didn't have to go through that, but you're a good person on the inside and you learned from someone else's mistakes, right? And so that has only helped you grow. So now, girl, I want to hear all about Front Women. What are we building there? Because it sounds amazing.
Thank you. I'm super proud of Front Women. So that was just born out of navigating corporate America as a woman
Yeah.
and, feeling like everything was a fight and everything was a battle. Every step was a battle. And what happened when I was finally awarded the role as Chief Operating Officer at School of Rock,
Yeah.
for the first time in my career, I felt a relief of pressure
Yeah.
to be pushing for the next move. I
Ooh.
felt like I could actually take a pause and take a breath because it was kind of like, okay, I've made it to the C-suite. Like I'm
Yes.
I'm here.
I'm
I'm in that
cruising at the
room.
C-suite. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that moment, I had that wave of relief and simultaneously this wave of responsibility
Mm.
to help all the other women who were coming up behind me and to help them learn from the things that I was able to learn and to navigate and to just help make their path a bit easier. So it was during COVID, and I reached out to a colleague who I knew was also passionate about the idea. And I pitched it to her. I said, "Do you want to do this with me?" And she was like, "I like it." And it honestly started as a employee resource group within School of Rock. So, I put the pitch together. I pitched it to my boss. He instantly said, "I love it. Do it."
I love that.
And yeah, he's a huge support. And I launched it within School of Rock. And then what happened was Roe v. Wade got turned over.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, as a group focused on female empowerment, we felt that we had a responsibility
Yeah.
to speak up on that. And at the same time, as a representative of School of Rock and our core value of belonging, I
Mhm.
also had to respect that not everybody within our community feels that same way, and that's okay. We're entitled to our different opinions.
Mhm.
So I removed Front Women from School of Rock. We've become a community resource group, so we've opened it up to everybody.
How amazing.
I have LLC'd and trademarked it myself, so it is all my own now.
Are you gonna let me in? And just let's put Are you
Absolutely.
gonna let me in this group?
Frontwomen.org, join our mailing list. Everybody is welcome. Everyone is welcome. We have men who join us every single time, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
because he has 2 young boys and he wants to treat them how to be better allies. And yeah, I mean, it's a great group. So we do quarterly calls and quarterly newsletters. So our newsletters, we like to highlight just a trailblazing woman and ask questions. What have you learned? What have been hard points? What would you tell your younger self? Books, podcast you're obsessed with right now.
I hope
And
they
our
say
quarter
mine.
Absolutely.
Just kidding. Okay. So that is really cool. So keep going.
Oh, and then our meetings are more interactive. So we talk about things. I love them because every time I learn so much also. So
Yes.
my favorite one was like debunking imposter syndrome. I learned so
Oh,
much
that's
about
a
imposter
good
syndrome.
one.
Have you heard about bicycle face?
No, tell me.
So in the 1920s, it was when bicycles became a thing and women started riding bicycles.
Mhm.
What happened was they no longer needed to wait for men to come with a horse and buggy to drive them somewhere. All of a sudden, they were able to provide their own transportation. And
Wow.
the suffragists were putting signs on their bicycles and able to ride to meetings with each other to talk about like things that they were going to do to fight for women's rights to vote. And women became less reliant on men. And now women wanted to wear pants. We didn't want to wear dresses anymore. We had all these things. Well, that wasn't liked, right? That we were becoming more
Sure.
independent. And there was literally a medical diagnosis called bicycle phase that only affected women. And the symptoms would be tight jaw from clenching, from riding up, stiff face. And they frightened women from riding their own bicycles with fear of getting
Gosh.
bicycle phase. So imposter syndrome is just the modern day bicycle phase. And
Yes.
Reshma Sujani gives an incredible speech about this, which is where I learned about it when I was doing my research. And it was so eye-opening. And it's like, oh my God, like this is just a thing to get in our heads to make us believe that we're we're where we don't belong. And that is so not the case. So we did a call on that. We did a call on, beauty standards and how that's different for women. We talk about
Yeah.
microaggressions. Sometimes we'll just do Q&As, with women who will come on. We had an incredible woman in charge of marketing over at Nike. She came on and talked about how to build your brand. So we
Great.
just find all different empowerment topics that sometimes are specific to women and sometimes are just about leadership,
Yeah.
around review time. We like to talk about how to advocate for yourself and have those tough conversations and how to approach that discussion about, merit increases and bonuses and really advocate for yourself. And we really just try and serve as a safe place for people to learn together, learn from each other, and also just, push the boundaries a little bit, which we need to keep doing.
This is really awesome. Like, really, really awesome because I think you are hitting all the points that you have felt be most important and most impactful in your life, and probably others that you've led and see kind of where they struggle. Everything that you just mentioned is like a resource that all of us could use. You know what I mean? Everything that you said, I was like, oh my gosh, I need that. Oh my gosh, I would love that. Oh my God, so it's like, thank you for taking the time to take your own experiences to build something out that's really going to benefit so many other people. I cannot wait to join this group, my friend. This is, you've had such an evolution of yourself. Look at everything you've been through from starting with that crazy job to your marriage that thank goodness, again, you were brave enough to get out of, to taking a leap into something that you really didn't know anything about, but you just kind of felt like, hey, I kind of feel good here. Let's see where this goes. A lot of people don't do that, and now look at you. Now you're trailblazing with Front Women. You're making a resource for so many other people to get out of their own way, to get rid of that imposter syndrome, to become what they're meant to be. It is so disheartening to watch how many people are just like, this is just the cards, that I got. And no. Light that deck on fire, okay? This is not your cards. You can change the trajectory of your life literally at any moment, but you have to decide to get there. And sometimes we need an opportunity like Front Women that's going to just maybe help give us a little more gumption to feel like we're in a place where we can do that. So I really admire what you've built throughout your life. That is so cool. Are you open to a quick rapid fire question? Okay. All right, everybody, here we go. Stacey's in the hot seat. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Oh, moving up to Massachusetts.
Ooh.
It was during my divorce, and I was given the opportunity to relocate up here and help the new CEO open the new office up here for School of Rock. And I left all of my friends. I left all of my family. I left my entire support group, probably at the time when I needed it the most,
Wow.
and moved 6 hours away.
My
Um,
gosh.
so it was scary, but it was the best decision I ever made.
Our best decisions that we make come from scary times, don't they? They're not picture perfect. They're messy. So, okay, next question. A moment you almost didn't trust yourself.
Moment I don't want to give the same answer.
It could apply.
I would say filing for divorce.
Yeah,
That's
that's
hard.
a big one.
It's
It's a big
scary. And
change.
especially, yeah, I was in a relationship where I was led to believe that that was the best I was going to ever get.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of like, you think you could do this without me? Go ahead. I dare you. Try.
They're like, "Oh, watch me, sweetheart."
Yeah, but it was scary. It was, how am I gonna survive? How am I gonna pay my bills? Like, what is
Yeah,
my life gonna look like? What's gonna happen with my job, with my family? Because I was living, in North Jersey and all my family was in South Jersey and my friends and all of that stuff. And, it was a moment where you question, is this the best that I'm gonna get?
yeah.
Am I throwing away something? That I shouldn't be throwing away? Or is there something
Mhm.
better out there? And boy, was there something better out there.
Oh, amen, sister. I love that though, because you're right. When you're stuck in a relationship, you feel sometimes we get to the point where it almost feels better in the moment to just be comfortable. Like, you know what your day is going to look like, you know what to expect. But breaking out of that, like, comfort zone, best thing ever. If, I'm not encouraging divorces here. I say that, but like, if you're in an unhappy relationship, take it from me and Stacey. There will be something better on the other side. Okay, last rapid fire. Advice for women in leadership. What's like the number one thing you would say?
I would say that often people will say that emotions and empathy are a weakness of women. And I believe wholeheartedly it's our superpower. I
Yes.
think that leading with empathy and compassion makes every decision different. It brings a different feeling to discussions and to team members and to problem solving. And don't try and hide that side of you. Don't believe that you have to, you know, be emotionless, because if you show emotion, you're that irrational woman in the room. Don't also, be a blundering, crying mess. Um, but have that empathy, have that compassion, and also don't hold back from being firm at the same time.
Yeah.
I've been told I have sharp edges. It's that old saying when a man is bossy, he's making decisions and a strong leader, and if a woman is, she's a bitch.
Yep.
And, that
Absolutely.
that is true, and that's gonna happen, and there's going to be people who are going to have that judgment of you, and every step of the way, there's still people to this day that I battle, and I've learned that if somebody is intimidated by me, that's not my problem to solve.
Yep.
That's from their insecurities. They have to solve for that. I
Yeah.
no longer soften myself to be less scary for people. I no
Totally.
longer try and remind myself, like, I have to be less intimidated. Like, I have to make sure that people feel comfortable. Yes, I want people to feel comfortable. I'm going to approach that in a different way. I'm not going to solve that by dulling my skill set and dulling
Mm-mm.
myself and my decision making and seeming like a weaker person or a more, indecisive leader. No,
Right.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna make sure you're comfortable in different ways. We're gonna have the discussions together, make the discussions together, but I no longer dull my edges for people. I dull my
Good for
edges for
you.
myself. I dull my
Yes.
edges so that when I walk away from a conversation, I'm not looking back and saying, I wish I didn't come at it that hard, or I wish I had listened to them a little bit better before I spoke up, or
Right.
I wish I, wasn't the first one to give the answer to that. Like, that's who I dull my edges for myself and for
Yes.
nobody else.
Good for you. I love that. Don't be dulling your edges, people. So, for a woman who's listening right now, and she knows that she's saying somewhere that just no longer aligns, what would you want to leave her with today? Know your worth, people. Know your worth and get uncomfortable, right? So, you guys, seriously, I hope that you feel as moved by Stacey as I do. And if this episode hit you, if you felt that pull while listening, this is your reminder today. You don't need everything figured out. You do not need permission. You just need to trust yourself enough to take that next step, big or small. So, If you've been waiting to do that, I ask you today, I challenge you today with saying, girl, why not you? Okay? Stacey, if people want to become a part of this amazing Front Women group, can you remind us again how we can get there?
Yes, go to frontwomen.org and join our mailing list. And then you will be in the know of all of our newsletters and our events to sign up for. And while you're there, you can explore all of our previous newsletters and some great things that we've done as an organization together.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. Your message is strong. It is important, and you are going to change the lives of anybody listening to this. I am sure of that, okay? I was just in Vegas, so here I am, a betting woman, and I would bet on that. Thank you again for all that you've done, for the people that you've served, that you continue to serve. I wish you the absolute best, because guess what I know? This isn't where your story ends either. Keep going, girl, and I'm going to be here for it. Everybody, thank you for tuning in today. Hope that you are as pumped as I am right now. And again, please ask yourself, girl, why not you? We'll talk to you next week. If something in this episode made you sit up a little straighter or dream a little bigger, don't ignore it. That's your future nudging you. I'm living proof that you can start messy, start scared, start in the worst timing, and still create something beautiful. Thank you for listening to Girl, Why Not You? Now go take one small step towards the life you've been craving. Hit subscribe, leave a review if you feel called, and share this with someone who's ready for more.